Welcome back to Talking Dragon Age, the show where I talk about Dragon Age. Today I want to talk about side quests and their role in the games. I want to start by talking about Dragon Age 2, because the main story is actually very short. I think most of the game is companion quests, and then there's a bunch of just helping people throughout Kirkwall. But specifically Act 1 had a bunch of quests that the game requires you to complete before doing the Deep Roads expedition, but the only connection is the fact that you need coin. I mean, the Black Powder Promise, Wayward Son, Act of Mercy, these are all quests that do impact the story later, but don't forward your then goal of getting in on the Deep Roads expedition. You only do them because you need coin. But if there was another method of getting 50 sovereigns, like, I don't know, Hawke goes on a crime spree and robs a bank or some noble's house in Hightown, then these quests aren't necessary to Hawke's ultimate goal. I understand why the game is set up the way it is, and I really do like the game, don't get me wrong. I promise there's a reason I'm talking about this stuff. After Act 1, like I said, the rest of the game is just stuff like your companion quests and helping random people throughout Kirkwall. But the thing is, these tie in with the main story, or at least the overall story of the Champion of Kirkwall. So I can't really consider them to be side quests, more like optional main quests, which is a unique concept. It sort of reminds me of the loyalty missions in Mass Effect 2. Optional, but critical. Shepard's mission is to stop the Collectors, but you need to make sure everyone is committed in order to better your chances of success. Now, sticking in Dragon Age 2, there are also some actual side quests, most of which revolve around looting an item and clicking on some NPC. Then there's stuff like Sketchy on the Details, which again is not really fleshed out. Some side quests that actually are fleshed out are finding Nathaniel and the Bone Pit, but I think they are the exceptions. Now let's talk about origins. I remember some of them fondly, I think because they help make the world feel more alive. Some that stand out in my memory are like Back Alley Justice, which was a Chantry board quest that requires you to clear out gangs in the alleys around Denerim. There was nothing to them, just go there and kill the enemies, so I don't know why that one stands out to me. A lot of the job board quests, like for the Chantry and Blackstone Irregulars, stand out, even though, again, there wasn't much to them. I liked the Haunted Orphanage. I liked the one where you clear out a mansion full of blood mages, even though I never actually read the note that explained why we were doing that. That's on me. The Red Jenny quest stands out now. Like, why did Irving have the box? What was in it? Why did the Friends of Red Jenny want it? See, that kind of mystery is what draws me to Dragon Age. And so, even though there was hardly any substance to the quest, it stands out because of that. Then you have the companion quests, like getting Sten's sword back and whatnot. I think the Origins quests fall into a few categories. Category 1 is collect item and talk to person. Sometimes there's something you need to collect, other times you are a mailman. Category 2 is convince person to do something. Category 3 is go beat the crap out of a bunch of people. Category 4 is companion quests. That pretty much speaks for itself. And Category 5 is look up walkthroughs to figure out what you're supposed to click on. A lot of quests in the Circle Tower and Deep Roads fall into this section. And there's some overlap. Some quests involve you convincing people to do something and beating the crap out of a bunch of people. Some items you have to get by beating the crap out of people. But I think most of the best quests in Origins are the ones that either involve talking to interesting people, and or the ones where you're uncovering some kind of mystery. Like finding Ruck in Orton Tig. That involves nothing except talking to the woman praying, and then talking to Ruck after you pass by him during the main quest. But it's an interesting story. Kamen and Gaina is another good example. There's a bunch. Again, because I think these quests make the world feel alive. And for the ones where you're uncovering some kind of mystery, like the whole deal with the Haunted Orphanage, You team up with a Templar who can't see well, and track down some magical weirdness associated with the orphanage. Then there's the Elven Jug ritual, and weirdly finding the Juggernaut armor even though it's another quest that's just find things and kill them. It's these quests that overshadow the really basic fetch quests, or, what's the term for quests that boil down to go beat the crap out of these people? But see, a lot of quests, such as tracking down Gax Kang, are interesting if you're a lore junkie like me, but also kind of suck because, well, I had to look up a walkthrough. And even then, I wasn't really reading the notes they gave me. That's on me, but some games call me more to read notes than others. I don't know what it is, but something about the notes and codex entries in Dragon Age makes me instinctively want to skip the vast majority of them. I think it may be because there are a lot about the world building, which I immediately close and save for later because they aren't relevant to what I'm doing right now, and I'd rather study it all at once. But there's not much to differentiate them from the notes that are actively part of the quests you're doing. Essentially, the world-building notes and narrative notes look the same, so I see no immediate urgency to reading any of it. I just save it for later. The few that stand out are the really short ones like the Prayer to Corypheus or Whispers in Red Lyrium, and those, annoyingly, are not in the Codex. Now, the Mass Effect trilogy also had a bunch of written notes I skipped, and I don't have the same excuse for them. However, in Andromeda, I felt more called to read a lot of them. I don't know what they did differently, or if I'm just nuts, but, I mean, yeah. And now Inquisition. Most of the side quests in Inquisition are based on the open world areas. There's not a lot of talking to people, at least nobody memorable. And now that I'm thinking about it, I think that's why a lot of the side quests feel like they lack substance, as opposed to the Origins side quests, which involved a lot of talking to people. There were a bunch of fetch quests, but I don't think I'd say most of the quests in Inquisition were fetch quests. A lot of them were tied to eliminating enemies, delving into specific areas, and most of said areas were unique, if a little bland. There's a few quests I want to talk about that I think show the range of quests in Inquisition. Some of my favorite quests are the two that involve Dwarven ruins. Clearing out the Carta from Valimar and exploring the caves under Crestwood. Because, Dwarves rock. I also like attacking the Red Templar port on the Storm Coast, partially because Dwarves, but also it's one of few missions that feels like we are a strike team. I like to headcanon that I tell the Blades of Asarian to harass the Red Templars until they're cornered, and then surround the entrance while we head inside. Speaking of the Blades of Asarian, the quest they're involved with is a bit lackluster in my opinion, but it does something I really like in that it lets you recruit them to your cause instead of just wiping them out. I like that it gives you the choice, and I like how it kind of gives you their base. Which, by the way, does not have enough space for them. Now, in game mechanic terms, having them as agents doesn't really mean anything. You get 1 or 2 war table missions, and you talk to the guy to get information you already know, and it slightly decreases the time on Cullen's war table operations. But I'll talk more about that in an episode for mechanics. Anyway, a lot of the quests I love in Inquisition are the ones that involve attacking bases. Claiming all the keeps, like I said, the Red Templar stronghold on the Storm Coast, clearing out Valimar. I liked closing rifts. I really liked attacking the Red Templars in Empre du Lion. One of my favorite touches in the game is the random couple you find at the dam after claiming the keep in Crestwood. I honestly don't know if this quest is required to beat the game, but I want to talk about it regardless. This couple has just a few lines of dialogue, but it really captures that feeling of the world being alive, kinda like Origins had. There wasn't enough of this kind of thing. I get that this is polish, and so I don't blame the developers because Inquisition's development was rough as it is. But I think it's important to look at this kind of thing because it can improve upon games in the future, not even just Dragon Age. Touches like this make the world feel alive. One other instance that comes to mind is delivering flowers to the dude's wife's shrine in the hinterlands. There's nothing to it. It's literally just go talk to this guy, go there, hit a button, go back. But for whatever reason, this feels like it matters. This person feels like a person. I'm helping an old man who misses his wife. Whenever I play as a Dalish elf, he says,
"You are Dalish. My sinner and I, we kept to the old ways as we could. Though I know we are as children to you."
And I headcanon that my Inquisitor takes his shoulder, smiles, and says, "Not at all, Haren. We are all children compared to the ancients. It is enough that you hold on to what you can." Another quest that comes to mind is the dude who's worried about the lady in Crestwood and asks you to check on her. There's nothing to this quest. You just go there and the lady tells you about a wyvern you can kill. But the amount that you can talk to her and also just get a feel for her relationship with the dude in the village adds something to the game that's hard to put into words. Mass Effect Andromeda had a bunch of this sort of thing, where you can talk to people and learn their thoughts, motivations, struggles, and so on. I loved that about it. I have to assume people who claim the game is complete garbage just didn't talk to people. This isn't the video to talk about that, though. My point is, side characters bring the world to life. Side quests or not, we need more of these. It's also important to bring up the more tedious quests in Inquisition. Again, people complain about too many fetch quests, and okay, the hinterlands had a bunch. The requisitions were stupid, especially when you literally could no longer get the items you needed to complete them. I'm honestly not remembering too many other fetch quests. Maybe I just blocked them out of my memory. I've played the game through many times by now, so I think either they were so bare bones that my brain just didn't retain the information, or they were so tedious I've repressed the memories. While I'm exploring and doing these quests, I like to listen to podcasts and stuff to help pass the time. But yeah, either I don't remember the fetch quests, or there actually weren't that many. About half the ones in the hinterlands, oof. Oh, the Hissing Wastes. I have mixed feelings about the Tomb of Fen'Harel. I like the story, I appreciate dwarven stuff, but the tombs were repetitive, it took a while to travel between them. The notes on the wastes are essentially collectibles that aren't marked on your map, and I hate them. Also because it takes so long to travel between them. And now, the Emerald Graves. I have mixed feelings about the Emerald Graves. On the one hand, it's one of my favorite areas on account of how beautiful it is. On the other hand, the significant main quests involve entering Orlesian houses that are incredibly tacky, like most of Orlais. That's not a criticism of the world building or art design, by the way. It's tacky as hell, but I think that was the point. So, good job. I liked going into the lodge because, again, it's attacking a base, though the level design could have been better. However, the art design is great because it fits the setting, unlike the tacky Orlesian buildings. Again, that's not an insult against the developers, it's an insult against Orlesian nobles. Now, Chateau d'Anter. This is the stuff right here. This deserves a dissection. Let's start with story. The notes you can find around this place are delightfully creepy, and paint a really awesome story of what happened here. More of this. More creepy haunted mansions. The place mostly looks immaculate, but it's abandoned, and I love uncovering the mystery of why that is. But the game kind of betrays itself in two ways. First, the fact that it's abandoned does not grab my attention at all, because there are a lot of abandoned homes in the Emerald Graves. I didn't think of it as a mystery. Either it's abandoned because of the war, or it's like a summer cottage that doesn't get used 11 months out of the year. And it's also in the middle of nowhere, not easily accessible by any means. If you want to appear sophisticated by having a place nobody else has, well, what's the point if you don't show it off? Yeah, come check out my big chateau. It's several miles from anything across really tough terrain on poorly maintained roads through a forest with giant bears that it's really easy to get lost in. Lives are lost every time we deliver food. It's great fun. Actually, you know what? That's exactly what an Orlesian noble would do, isn't it? Anyway, my point is, for this quest, an abandoned mansion doesn't stand out to me. It doesn't scream mystery to be solved, because the Dales are littered with this kind of thing. And while I like immaculate haunted houses, I think this is an area where a decrepit haunted house would have served better, because then I might wonder what happened. Like, if everything was super dusty and the colors were fading and the house was in disrepair, but it still looks neat and tidy, then it would be clear the war didn't do it. And in that case, I'd wonder what happened. So the game works against itself in this part. Also, there's a nice juxtaposition of having undead roam otherwise well-maintained homes, but it doesn't work here because it's not out of place with everything else in the game. And that leads to the other way it betrays itself, which is that it's harder to make things creepy in a world where magic and demons are commonplace. The notes are awesome. Creepy child made friends with a demon and killed everybody. But, I mean, that doesn't seem very special to me, because I'm used to demons. Then you just interact with the artifact to make things better, and it's not compelling. Compare this to DA2 where you go into Bartrand's mansion in Act 3. You know something out of the ordinary is happening because it's decrepit and normal magic doesn't do the sort of thing you're seeing in the house. So this is a tedious quest, but it should have been one of my favorites. Like I said, more random creepy stuff. You know, the Pokemon games get it. Now this video is bloody long, but there's more I want to talk about. Some quests involve heading into old ruins, and some are better than others. The Knight's Tomb in the Emerald Graves was nice, though I think there could have been more to it. A lot of it was repetitive rooms fighting Red Templars. There's the Grey Warden ruin in Empire du Lion that I kinda don't like, and I'm not sure why. There's the Lost Temple of Durthaman that I love for the story, told both through the notes and in the environment, but it's too damn dark, bloody hell. The Cradle of Sullivan had a nice design, but was also a rather repetitive dungeon crawl. I'm not certain what makes those different from areas like Valimar or the Stormcoast Port, besides dwarves, but for whatever reason, my feelings on them are pretty different. Now I want to take some time to talk about how side quests could be used in the future. And I'm going to reference some other games for inspiration. Most Ubisoft games have a mechanic where you clear out enemy outposts, and usually that's my favorite part of the game. Especially when they let you do things like sabotage the alarm or create distractions. Assassin's Creed Origins and Odyssey, too damn many side quests. Let me tell you, I appreciate all the work that went into them, and I love that they didn't chop up half of them to be put into DLC, because that's what a lot of other games would do. But I have a love-hate relationship with them. In Odyssey, there were entire quest lines that were totally optional, but had fully fleshed out stories. The Elder Scrolls Guild quest lines are similar. That's the kind of thing I love. That's the kind of thing I would personally like to see in Dragon Age. But there is too much of a good thing. Assassin's Creed Origins had stuff everywhere, which again I love, but I get overwhelmed because I'm a completionist. But Origins did something else really great, and that's that certain side quests affect the main story. Not dramatically, but it opens up some more dialogue. That is something else I really love, and I would like to see expanded. Mass Effect 3 had quests like Grissom Academy, which was good, and it opened up some interactions you can have with Jack and Anderson, and there's an emotional consequence to not doing it. Mechanically, the only real benefit to the main story is war assets, and they ended up not mattering very much. Then in Andromeda, and I promise I'm going to get back to Dragon Age in a second, but in Andromeda, side quests are all over the planet, and I think they are really interesting. And certain characters you help out there show up in the final battle. Again, they don't do much, but it is really great to see side characters coming to help out. Side quests should be satisfying on their own, and a lot of these were in my opinion. but even more so when these characters come to your aid. It makes me feel like I did something. I helped people, and now they're here to help me. Community. Stuff like this, again, makes the world feel more alive. And in Inquisition, there are 2 side quests depending on whether you recruited the Mages or Templars, which are Under Her Skin and Before the Dawn. These involve learning more about Corypheus' second-in-command, whether it be Samson or Calpurnia, and completing them means you have another option in dealing with them during the main quest, What Pride Hath Wrought. But I think they're the only quests of that sort in Inquisition. Yeah, you see your allies in the wilds, but you gained them during the main quests. So that's still really satisfying. But having side quests result in similar things is satisfying in a different way. Because in order to get this far, of course I had to recruit these allies. But imagine if you had optional ones too, like the Blades of Asarian, Bull's Chargers, etc. Alright, now this video is incredibly long. I still have more to say, but they fall more under the category of mechanics, and that is going to get its own video. Or maybe multiple ones. For now, what did we talk about today? Side quests have a special place in Dragon Age. A lot of them are tedious, a lot of them are really fun and interesting, most of them are somewhere in the middle. I think the most interesting side quests for the players are the ones that involve meeting interesting characters and doing something out of the ordinary, or attacking an enemy base, or uncovering mysteries and secrets. The most tedious side quests are the ones that don't have any of those things. Side quests impacting the main story, even in the most minor of ways, is a great concept and really satisfying. There's a science to side quests that's hard to put into words. Just always try your best and make sure they are possible to complete. And also, don't overwhelm the player. And I think that about wraps this up. If you want to talk more about this kind of thing, be sure to jump on over to Discord where you can talk to me and other fans. So that's it for now, guys. Thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to comment and like, and remember, Tala Nadas.